ClemFM needs your help with 8 across. Male luminescence, 7 letters. Any help would be greatly appreciated. This episode is titled, If Anyone Around Here is the Rotten Egg, it certainly isn't me. I'm sorry, Brett, but I'm going to have to take exception with your ruling, and overrule it. A miscarriage of justice has taken place here today, and I'd like to have it redressed. The result of your impromptu race to the lake deemed me to be a rotten egg, which is not something I can abide. There is simply no basis for me being a rotten egg. None whatsoever. I'll start by being the bigger and technically only man here and concede a point. I'm not saying that I wasn't the last one to jump off the jetty into the water. I'll gladly and freely admit that I breached the water's surface a fraction later than everyone else, and made the largest and most impressive splash whilst doing so, I might add. But you also have to concede something, Brett. You had quite a head start, didn't you? I might have overlooked it if you got a couple of cheeky steps in before anyone else, but you were practically sprinting when you shouted, "Last one in's a rotten egg," while I was still taking my sandals and socks off. You, on the other hand, weren't even wearing shoes at the time, which leads me to believe that this impromptu race of yours was premeditated. That's right, an entirely cold-blooded act. Some other members of the group also seemed to be bolting for the water before the full terms of the race were uttered, let alone agreed upon. In fact, I don't recall any one of us agreeing verbally to the terms that you set. Which kind of makes the whole thing null and void, Brett. But let me continue, illustrating all of the ways in which I'm totally not the rotten egg that your smear campaign has made me out to be. I'm not saying that I am un-egg-like in terms of my body shape or the sparseness of the hair on my head. But just what, may I ask, makes me so rotten? I'll be the first to admit I'm not the best guy in the world. But rotten. And an egg? Come on. That's a bit of a stretch, mate. Fair go. Is calling me a rotten egg a subtle way of alluding to yesterday morning when I used all of your eggs? As I explained then, I was planning on making an Uncle Buck-style omelette, but the metal trash can lid I was cooking it in kept slipping off the stovetop. So I just threw the eggs in the trash and replaced the lid without washing it, because it was Holly's turn to do the washing up according to the roster chart I created for this trip. Rotten eggs become buoyant due to the gas that builds up in them over time, but I sink like a stone whenever I enter the water. These inflatable armbands I got you to blow up for me only strengthen my case, Brett. I don't particularly care for this kind of name-calling. However, I do have a bunch of Yo Mama jokes if you want to trade some of those. Where's all this coming from? What have I ever done to make you treat me so disrespectfully, Brett? Is it because I keep making passes at your girlfriend? No, that couldn't be it. I honestly can't figure out what it could be. Can you tell me, Piper? What about you, Holly? Nugs, do you have any clue? As rotten eggs are just old eggs, is this your way of calling me old? Sure, I might be a 35-year-old man who ditched his boring family to tag along on a weekend getaway with some college kids he met at the camping supplies store. But if you're going to call anyone old, it should be that ominous stooped guy with the wrinkly face back at that rundown gas station, who warned us with a crooked arthritic finger of a devil that lives in the lake we're all at this moment standing waist-deep in. Now that guy was old. You imply that I'm a rotten egg, but how could I be a rotten egg when I don't even have a shell? Where's my shell, Brett? Answer me that. Call me crazy, but I don't see what's so rotten about being a rotten egg. When an egg reaches its rotten stage, it has triumphed against all odds. If Darwin's survival of the fittest isn't total bullshit, then rotten eggs were chosen by nature, and not just by that rat from Charlotte's Web. When I overheard you were planning this lakeside sojourn and invited myself along, I didn't know I was going to be lambasted with titles incorrectly bestowed. If I had, I might seriously have considered not coming along, as you had politely and discreetly requested of me several times before the trip. The thing that no one realizes about rotten eggs is that they didn't start out rotten. They were the same as the rest of the eggs, but for one reason or another were passed over, left to rot. They aren't the villains you've made them out to be. They're victims of society, blameless, and are only rotten because nobody cared enough to want them. And that's why most rotten eggs end up in the prison system, being fed at low cost to psychotic reprobates. If you're going to call anyone a rotten egg, it should be that thing I saw hatching on the bank yesterday. It came right out of a huge, foul-smelling egg, ate Piper's dog, then slithered into the water. I forgot to mention it last night when the search party went out and I stayed here in case the dog called. There's no need to get upset, Piper. If it's any consolation, that dog was really annoying. One time I decided to egg someone's house. I didn't have anyone particular in mind. I stole a bunch of eggs from a farm and waited a whole month for them to go rotten, keeping them in a shed in front of a space heater to create a good environment for them to rot in. But instead of rotting, they hatched, and I had chickens all over the place. The moral of the story is that sometimes a rotten egg can turn out to be a beautiful, delicious chicken. If the last one in's a rotten egg, are you saying the rest of you are the freshest of eggs? Well, newsflash, but there are degrees of rottenness. I was barely the last one in, so if I'm rotten, Tyler is definitely nearing his use-by date. Does everything have to be a contest with you? Like yesterday, when we were playing Uno, and I asked you to give me a draw 4 I saw you had. You refused, then went on to win. It's only a game, Brett. And with that draw 4, I might well have mopped the floor with every last fucking one of you. Hasn't this gone on long enough? Am I your whipping boy? Must you dredge up the immediate past like it's some buried putrefying turtle egg? Do you get off on treating me badly? I hope you're paying attention, Piper. You really should consider this a red flag in your relationship with Brett. If he ever mistreats you, I'm only a phone call away. These last few days, I've come to think of you as the hot daughter I'm glad I never had. Do you think my mother was a monotreme, Brett? An egg-laying mammal? Does it look like I'm about to shit an egg and let it suck on my titties? Grow up! I think I know what's going on here, Brett. You're threatened by me. Well, don't worry, because I'm no threat to you. What you and the rest of us should all feel threatened by is the scaly thing I felt brush past my leg just now. If you all really want to find out who the rotten egg is, Brett's planning on giving Piper an engagement ring next week and hasn't even told her yet. If that isn't rotten egg-like behavior, I've clearly lost all perspective on this. Pretending to be violently dragged under the water to hide in shame won't put an end to this discussion, Brett. Brett? Are you even listening to me down there? Brett? Hey, where's everyone going? I didn't piss in the water this time, I swear. It's probably just Brett's gushing blood that is causing the water's temperature to rise, and not my urine. Well, gang, it doesn't look like Brett's coming back. And I say good riddance. I may be a rotten egg, but he was a rotten bastard. And whatever's got him and it's more down there is probably wishing it had chosen one of you instead of that smug prick. I guess we really should call the police right away, on Sunday evening when we get back to the city. Brett would have wanted us to enjoy the rest of our time here, and to forget about him entirely. I can see you guys are all pretty glum, but you know what always cheers me up? Revenge. I saw a clutch of massive spotted eggs hidden in the reeds over yonder. Maybe stomping them to bits will make you feel a little better. Just make sure you destroy them before the mother returns. She's likely keeping a closer watch on them ever since I stole one of the eggs last night, threw it at Brett's car, and rubbed the goo and unborn monster within all over his swimming trunks. Huh, maybe that's why he kept going on and on about me being a rotten egg, to divert attention from his own foul smell. To think Brett might still be alive today if he only swam naked, like I always do. I have a sneaking suspicion that the man from my nightmares is real. I have come to this conclusion because when I put the bins out late last night, he was standing in front of my house. It felt awkward ignoring him, so I said, "Bin night, hey?" Then he kicked my recycling over, flipped me the bird, and danced off into the night.